Hey there, my name is Przemek. Welcome back after a few weeks break. Today it is very hot in here. I hope you don't see how sweaty I am. I don't have a professional makeup artist yet. Maybe in the future, we'll see. Anyway, today I have a label feature for you. Gladivs Records from France. The label which has released 5 albums so far. Today I will discuss 3 of them. Without the first one, La Nuit qui tombe, Le sens du tragique, and the last one, Sun Vessel, Acid Fallen to Earth. For them, maybe the time will come someday in the future. What is worth mentioning, Gladivs used to be called Ultima Ratio Regum, and despite releasing only a few albums so far, they already have several subdivisions covering different forms of music or different atmospheres. It's all a bit complicated. This structure is almost corporate, you know. You'll see what I mean later, but now let's get down to the music. I start with the album that suits me best from this Gladivs 3-pack I got. It's Sun Vessel and the album Etched in Eternity, released in 2022 by In Illo Tempore, a subdivision of Ultima Ratio Regum, which now is Gladivs Records, you know. And this is the debut album of this enigmatic Australian one-man project. And right now, when I say these words, the second album is already out, and it is titled Acid Fallen to Earth, if I'm not mistaken. I focus on the debut though, the album which, no matter how strange or funny it may sound, is a breath of fresh air to me. Here it's what it looks like, a nice digipack with like this inside, and there's also a booklet with lyrics, of course. And why do I say it is a breath of fresh air, and why it may sound a bit ridiculous? Because there's really nothing original here, to be honest. Once you listen to this album, you'll realize that this sound, these melodies, this atmosphere, that you heard this somewhere before, because Sun Vessel very faithfully imitates, I don't know, maybe that's a good word, recreates is a better word, recreates the sound of Death in June from the era of their best album, of Douglas' best albums, like But No Ends When Symbols Shatter, for example. Nothing original, but then I think no one plays neo-folk like that nowadays. Death in June has retired. Among the big names, I don't know, Rome has never really played like Death in June. Maybe some elements were similar, but in fact from the very beginning, the releases like Nera or Berlin, they have been trying to create and later develop their own style, which is currently difficult to even call neo-folk. Of the Want and the Moon was once inspired by Douglas Pierce's project, and today sometimes it still smuggles some pieces of this atmosphere on their last albums, I think, but Of the Want and the Moon also play kind of different music. Other Death in June children no longer exist or record new albums sporadically, and when I listened to Etched in Eternity for the first time, I realized how much I missed this June-ish style, and how happy I was, and how much joy this album gave me. Sun Vessel performs the music in a specific style and with a clearly defined vision, not trying to reinvent the wheel, but he does it with charm and elegance and eloquence. Acoustic guitar, vocals, sometimes perhaps a flute, probably also an accordion, I think, maybe a trumpet, or something resembling an accordion. Delicate synths, of course, those characteristic tiny bells that every Death in June fan knows perfectly well. But how awesome it is to listen to. You remember the melodies right away, and they won't get out of your head anytime soon, you know. And listening to this one will take you back this 30, 35 years ago, to the times when, what ends when symbols shatter, the wall of sacrifice, or rose clouds of Holocaust, experiencing another Death in June albums, the glory days of World Serpent, these are those times again. Although, getting back to Of the Wanted the Moon, I think there is also some early Of the Wanted the Moon influence on this album as well. But anyway, the fact is that Sun Vessel is kind of epigone of these projects, but it has no significance here, it has no significance at all. This is simply great to listen to. I probably wouldn't be as enthusiastic if we still had dozens of Death in June counterfighters on the scene, but we don't, and Sun Vessel, even if you do, the Sun Vessel would still be a level higher, I think, from those counterfighters, as I named it, because in terms of, sorry, something got to my eye. In terms of performance and creativity, this Australian cannot be faulted in any respect, you know how it is with neo-folk, a similar situation to martial industrial. The genre had its time of glory, but at some point the critical mass was exceeded. People got bored, I think, and only after some years the greatest survived. But even those greatest ones, like the projects I mentioned before, they don't even play pure neo-folk anymore. Well, okay, maybe Ostara still keeps that neo-folk spirit, but most of the projects, the other projects fell apart. Only a few remained, and there are not as much new projects being formed as I don't know, 20 years ago. But if they would be still forming the projects like Sun Vessel, I don't mind if there are more of them. And the lyrics, nice, poetic, but I won't be describing or interpreting them here because I'm simply not good at it. That's one of the reasons why 80% stuff I review is instrumental music. Favorite song, number 9, Sacred Nobility. It plays on repeat in my sanctuary very, very often. But in general, the whole album, Etched in Eternity by Sun Vessel, is amazing. Really, really. Pure recommendation.
Hope's new beacon shall arise. What's destroyed is now remade. Debt of blood is now repaid.
Okay, the second album I would like to talk about is Sacred Sorcerers by Alziend Component, or Alziend Component, I don't know how to read it. Anyway, according to Google Translate, This Alziend means all-seeing in Dutch. And this album is released under the banner of Brooms Productions, which, as it's written here in Digipack, Brooms is Gladivs Records' spectral manifestation. This is quite enigmatic project from Canada, Quebec to be more precise, and this seems to be the fourth release by Alziend Component after 3 cassettes. One of them was split. Here's what the album looks like this, and inside like this. Okay. This cover, to be honest, didn't really encourage me to listen to the music because it reminds me of gothic or dark wave from the 90s, and it's not my favorite music, you know. Sacred Sorceress, however, is something else, you know. Let me read what the label has to say about the concept. With Sacred Sorceress, Alziend Component surveys the subterranean landscapes of an ancient, unexplored territory. The loss of landmarks becomes more pronounced as the winding paths draw us into the depths. Down here, the echo of the world above is still present. Archaic litanies link us to it. The muffled notes seem at once distant and strangely familiar, as to the obscure resonances of the humming coming from the cavities below. The sound score seems to use contemporary technologies, although here it is embodied in a primitive form that suggests it originated centuries before our era. Access continues below. And well, for me it is music that has something of doom metal in it, but very raw, stripped of almost everything except the guitar and vocals and occasional drums and mysterious noises, gnashing sounds and feedbacks. Although the range of instruments used does not indicate this, because we also have organ, synthesizer, guitars, bass, beatbox, drums, samples, vocals. It is a very aesthetic thing, and in its aestheticism, it's very gloomy. We have tracks structurally close to traditionally understood compositions, but there are also abstract forms from the border between abstract dark ambient and gloomy death industrial, such as, for example, track 4, Exil, which reminds me a bit of Domine Rex Inferum album by MZ 412. I dropped it. But even these more normal pieces can hardly be classified as easy listening, even if there are fragments that are theoretically more accessible for a listener, such as the parts straight from the Celtic folk, I think, like in the track Haywired Ancestors. Everything here is covered with a sonic dirt, reverb, and distortion, and a slightly muffled sound, sometimes sounding as if it is coming from a well or cave. I assume this is intentional. And this album is intriguing, emanating an enigmatic but also disturbing atmosphere, in a sense also having a ritual aspect, intensified by repetitiveness and trance nature of some fragments, especially at the end of the album, like the tracks, A-track, Heavy Path of Wonder, or the finale, Rooted in the Depth. But I must admit that I prefer to listen to this one in fragments, because listening to it in its entirety makes me a bit exhausted. But maybe it's just me, because in general it's worth checking out if you're looking for strange, cold, evocatively disturbing music that that has its own individual character. It's also very important, I think, because even though I heard some of the album components somewhere before, some individual specific fragments, but overall, apart from this association with MZ412 I mentioned, I can't instantly recall any other artist that would sound like Alziend Component. Yeah, that was the second one, Alziend Component, Sacred Sorceress. And the last album I would like to discuss is this one. It's a split of the French projects N.K.R.T and Temple. Both are quite enigmatic. I only know that the person behind N.K.R.T is Stéphane Goubi, who is also involved in several other projects, none of which is familiar to me. And about Temple, their Bandcamp says Temple is the third Alrinax one-man band, dark folk ambient project. Temple is a proud member of French collective Le Rêve de Molassar. And that's it. The album was released by In Illo Tempore, which was then still a subdivision of Ultima Ratio Regum. 6 tracks, 2 by N.K.R.T, 2 by Temple, and 2 collaborative ones. And this is how it looks like. This time it's a jewel case, and inside the cover, the back, and this, you see bones, some ancient sculptures. More or less what you are dealing with here, because N.K.R.T songs are ritual dark ambient, quite raw but also quite suggestive. Raw, especially in terms of sound, because these first two pieces actually sound as if they were recorded in some cave. Again, just like on the occasion of Alziend Component album. And not in a normal studio. This adds authenticity to the music, but it also have some shortcomings, I would say. I have the impression that it's recorded very quietly, and muffled. I think it could have been tweaked a bit in a studio, in mastering maybe, and give it in a bit more juiciness. I don't know if this is the right word for this kind of music, but I hope you know what I mean. Just a little bit, so as not to lose its authenticity, and the music itself, trance, ghastly screams, bone clattering, subtle influences of black metal and death industrial. I'm not really a fan of this particular type of dark ambient, but if you like, for example, Zazen Sounds offerings, you would feel like, well, at home. And after those two tracks, the atmosphere changes, because delicate acoustic guitars come to the forefront. You hear a baby crying, and these are delicate and ethereal pieces, suggesting the musician's great sensitivity. These are instrumental, and I must say that some vocals would do some good here. And again, also a bit better sound, I think. The second temple track adds some drums, and it has maybe a slightly, I don't know, Mediterranean or Pyrenean feel, I think. Maybe you know the group Stille Folk, and the temple sounds a bit like a very raw variation of the Stille Folk music, I think. No vocals, no any peculiar folk instruments, but a kind of similar atmosphere to some extent, I think, or at least I have such impression. You don't have to agree with me. And finally, both seemingly distant projects join forces, and we get what we can basically expect after such collaboration. Acoustic melodies, again in the foreground, but in the background there is also this black space generated by N.K.R.T, like black clouds covering the southern sun, heralding the arrival of eternal night, I think. It works quite okay, despite a completely different approach to music of those projects. The sounds of both musicians on both projects blend quite well, I think, and I think these last two fragments are my favorites on the album. There was something missing for me in N.K.R.T and Temple, those solo compositions, but when they play together, it is quite okay. As I said, they complement each other, and these tracks simply sound complete. I won't lie, this album won't be among my favorite ones, but it's quite a solid thing, although with some shortcomings, Yeah, okay, I think Gladivs Records is worth keeping on your radar. These few albums suggest quite a wide range of interests of the label. As far as I know, they also have a black metal subdivision, or maybe it's a separate label, I don't know. But I'll definitely be watching this French conglomerate in the future. Okay, thanks for watching and see you soon.